So, hey Virgo, my name is Chris, and this is your beautiful reading. And it's not just your beautiful reading, it's my beautiful reading as well, because I'm Virgo as well. So there's Virgo readings on this channel. There's the 10 of Cups. See, they are going to be special always, and a few others too, because I get a lot of signs in my chart. By the way, check out your sun, moon, and rising if you want the full picture. And let's just see. 10 cards. I'm not doing the Celtic cross here. That's a good combination. 8 of Cups and the 7 of Pentacles. There's something you're leaving behind, right? An idea, but it was totally connected to your heart space. So you leave it behind and you're not sure what's going to come next, but you kind of have an idea what's coming next because you already planted your little seedlings. That's the 7 of Pentacles, right? You have to take care of these little seedlings, right? But they're growing, they're already growing. And for that, you left something behind that was, Cups energy. So your heart was connected to it, and it was kind of dark and, depressing, whatever. Could be a relationship, could be something your heart was connected to, some emotional connection was there, and you said, okay, you know what, these are 8 cups, but I just leave them behind, and you were going your merry way in whatever regard and planted your seeds, your little 7 of Pentacles. Justice card, yes, maybe you were moving on from heartbreak, and there we got the King of Wands as well with the 3 of Swords. The King of Wands is a frequency where you're totally in charge of your sexual energy. Wands energy is willpower as well, right? So, but there are a lot of things. There's the 8 of Pentacles, goes along with the 7 of Pentacles. There's a little worrying, overthinking with the 9 of Swords. Let's just continue this story about the King of Wands. The King of Wands is ruling his own fire aspect. He's ruling his willpower. He's in control, what he wants to do, focus, attention, right? Willpower. But, of course, Wands energy, fire energy, is also sexuality. So if you allow your heart to be guided by other parts of your body, then you might sometimes end up like that, right? So with a broken heart, but maybe it is something that you have to leave behind because there's your heart connection, right? I talked about something that you're leaving behind or left behind. And then the 3 of Swords shows up, right? And the other Swords energy here with the 9 of Swords connected to that. So this could mean, you learned something out of it. You came out of it as the king, or you're coming out of it actually, as the King of Wands. So you're no longer overriding your feelings, your intuition with sexual will or lust is the word, I guess. That's seldomly used in tarot card readings, I guess, but that's my channel, so I talk about lust as well, right? So you are in control of your sexual energy, and maybe you have not always been in control of that completely, right? Maybe you were easily persuaded, and maybe there was narcissistic abuse, maybe there were, foul play, whatever. Swords energy, 9 of Swords, 3 of Swords, that's not a beautiful energy, but you left it behind and you're coming out of this as the King of Wands, the King of Willpower, the King of Fire aspect, passion, sexuality, in control of all these faculties, and, no longer being in this frequency where you're easily manipulated or played in these areas, right? Fire energy, including sexuality. So you're leaving this behind, right? And in that regard, it probably is a good riddance, especially since the 3 of Swords is connected to that. So there was a heartbreak or something that broke your heart or really shook your core beliefs in the emotional sense, right? That was pretty hefty, right? But it's over, and you're coming out of this as the King of Wands. Beautiful. You already planted your seeds for the next chapter of your life. You're attending to them. You're taking good care of them. 7 of Pentacles, 8 of Pentacles, which is just a good advice, right? Whatever you started, keep doing that and give it loving attention. Yeah, there's the 9 of Wands and the Queen of Pentacles. You have to come out of your shell a little, right? The wounded warrior kind of built a little fence around himself, tries to protect himself, but you're no longer the 8 of Cups guy. You're no longer, that is over. Let it be over. The wound is already healed, at least the external wounds maybe. But you have to come out of your shell a little. You can tear down that fence that you built around yourself for protection. Maybe you are a burnt child in love affairs, right? But you're also the King of Wands. So you're in control of your lust, you're in control of your sexuality, you're in control of your willpower. That also means that you speak your truth. That's a king aspect, right? Expression into the outside world. You speak your truth, you say what you want, what you don't want. You lay down some ground rules to which people might or might not agree with. But, these are your ground rules or your boundaries or your, and then they stand, right? They're not, that's a King of Wands here. By the way, the Queen of Pentacles is here as well. So all of your efforts, all of your, whatever you're doing here, Pentacles-wise, super successful. Just keep attending what you started. Work on it. That's great work, right? It's a good work. And then there's the Queen of Pentacles. All of your efforts fall on fertile ground. That's beautiful. How much do we got? 6, 8, only 2 more. There's the Sun card. There's the, what is it? The High Priestess. Yes, the High Priestess. And let's just keep the bottom of the deck with the Sun card. That's beautiful. So this night is over, right? This night of the 8 of Wands is definitively over, totally connected to that, right? Not nice energies, but you have to let it go. You have to come out of your shell. You learned something. Maybe you've been empathic. Maybe you've been too empathic, too nice to people. There's such a thing as being too nice, that's for sure. And, you had to learn boundaries. You had to learn to stand on your own. You had to learn to, how it feels to go through that, right? Pretty shitty, I know. But you have to eventually start a new chapter, even in that regard. So come out of your shell a little, smell the roses, smell the flowers. And the other story is totally being busy, doing your thing, and total support from the universe. And then we got the jolly good fellow, right? There you are. You left your little protective zone as the King of Wands, and you got on your horse, and you it became the Knight of Wands. And the Knight of Wands is a little playful, jolly good fellow, right? And remember that, right? So don't be too playful, because you're no longer this naive little guy or girl, whatever, right? You're the King of Wands, right? So be a responsible player. You can do that. You can be a little playful, but don't be naive. The Knight of Wands has this playful energy, but sometimes also a little foolish energy, right? So don't get carried away with it. Be playful, but be responsibly playful. Trust your intuition whenever you encounter other people. That goes basically as the basis of it all. Trust your intuition, right? Your intuition, High Priestess energy, your subconsciousness is always a guide for you. not necessarily the fire aspects, right? You have to tame the fire aspects, because the fire aspects have kind of a spin on their own, right? Maybe if you're a guy, you know that. But having said that, you have to be in control of the fire aspect, because otherwise the fire aspect is controlling you. Maybe that has been the developmental story here. Maybe you weren't always in control of your fire aspect. Maybe you got a lot of fire in your chart, maybe, right? And you got burned a little, right? And then you try to protect yourself and never play with fire again. But you know what? You're coming out of this as the king, and now you're kind of the transformed, reformed King of Wands. So you got burned, now you know how to handle your own fire. So handle your fire wisely, be the King of Wands. You need to control that, right? Fire aspects. But the intuition is something, if you truly listen to your inner core, your subconscious frequency, that's High Priestess energy, that's Moonish energy, you know, your subconsciousness. If you really make a good connection, and if you really cultivate that connection through breath work, through meditation, right? 10 seconds in, 20 seconds out, 7 seconds in, 14 seconds out. Make the out breath 2 times that of the in breath, very important. Do that every day. Treat it like a freaking workout, right? You go to the gym, you might not have a problem going to the gym, but why not treat meditation and breath work the same way, with the same willpower and discipline, right? That you obviously it's on the table, right? You do it with your work, with your whatever you're doing with your pentacles here. Very disciplined, showing up, doing your work, taking care of it, right? Super support from the universe, that's for sure. That's fertility, that's right. That's the Queen of Pentacles. Very nice, as in a row with the 7 and the 8 of Pentacles. That looks very, very true. Can I show you that? With one hand, okay. That looks pretty good. That looks very, very good. 7, 8, Queen, Pentacles, beautiful. That's abundance and prosperity. We can say this here. It's going to come, right? So just keep doing what you're doing. And then in playfulness, you control your fire, and then you can be a responsible player with your fire energy. That's the one story. And then the subconsciousness, if you really develop this connection to your subconsciousness, you have to clear out the trash, right? Guilt, fear, shame, hatred, anger, frustration needs to be dissolved, not negated, but dissolved. So you have to transcend and integrate it in the sense that you heal it, right? That you're not trying to negate it, that you're not trying to shove it even deeper in your subconsciousness. There it gets amplified with negative, darker energies. You don't want that. That's why people who are living in guilt, fear, shame, and all these lower frequencies, they're living in these frequencies because they try to disown an aspect of themselves. That's never working, and you're always offering it to the darkness, and the darkness will use it, and it will use it against you. So you better take care of that guilt, fear, shame stuff, right? Anger, hatred, frustration, bring it up, right? Look at it, heal it. And you have to deal with it, right? And look at it. And if you do that, you're cleaning your subconsciousness, and the subconsciousness is the channel to the divine, to higher guidance, to unity consciousness, ultimately just, you know, different layers, of course, of unity consciousness, so to speak. But you get access to broader and broader spheres of consciousness, and therefore inspiration and healing and support and things like that. So you can trust that support, you can trust that universal, basically, support, right? Because you're basically it, the universe. You are the universe. We are the universe. You're just little, you know, emanations of that. But if we connect to that, we're embraced. And guilt, fear, shame, frustration, anger, hatred is pretty much blocking the access to that higher vibration or that higher consciousness. So we deal with it through meditation. Negative breathing, 2 times the out breath is 2 times that of the in breath, very important. You do that every freaking day to release negativity. You know, take the negative charge away with all these things that you probably stuffed down. And then you can more easily heal it. You take the charge away to negative breathing. And then you combine that with meditation. Half an hour, if you can do both for half an hour, that would be fantastic. 15 minutes each, 5 minutes each. If you have never done that, do 5 minutes. You can do 10 minutes. So 5 minutes breath work, 5 minutes meditation. You're discharging your negative stuff in your subconsciousness, and then you bring it up in meditation and look at it and ultimately heal it so it transcends and integrates, it dissolves literally. And if you do that all the freaking time, that channel from the waking consciousness, which is definitively the Sun card. By the way, there's the King of Pentacles underneath, right? That's beautiful, right? So the sun is shining, right? So you're acting, you're coming back to life. Everything is indicating a brand new day, a brand new start. You're coming out of your shell. You're getting a little more playful. You're doing your work, very focused on the external pentacles energies. And here's the High Priestess reminding you that all that needs to be in alignment with your inner core, and to make sure that this is working, that you can always trust your intuition and your inner voice. Meditation, breathwork every freaking day. Now I'm shutting up with this because I could talk about this like for hours, because it's so freaking important. People go to the gym every freaking day. They are really disciplined. But, you know, sitting there for 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever, they can't do that, right? So they're very powerful and strong people who literally cannot stand themselves in silent, in a room alone for 5 minutes. What does that say? There's the 5 of Cups in the back. So a few cups got spilled, more emotional energy. So we're just verifying what we already know. 7, there's the narcissist of the tarot deck, right? So that was really effed up here in the past, right? There's your narcissist with the 7 of Swords. There's your 5 of Cups. There's your broken heart, and you left that behind, I would say. Because this reading speaks all about you already left the protective zone that you build around yourself when it comes to your work, and now you're leaving it too when it comes to, I think, your love life, your sexuality, your willpower. Maybe you've been too, it could also be that you've been too freaking bossy, right? Who knows? So, but you know, the King of Wands can be bossy, but in a responsible way. And he's coming down from his throne, getting on his horse, being the Knight of Wands, right? So there's your playfulness. Yeah, looking forward to what you're building, and looking forward to the 10 of Cups. That's the center here. 8 of Pentacles to the Queen of Pentacles. King of Wands to the Knight of Wands, all connected to the beautiful fortune of the difficult 10 of Cups. After we've coming from the 5 and the 8 of Cups, that's what we want to see. Bottom of the deck, the Empress, and bottom of the big deck is the Sun card. That's beautiful. And now I'm doing one Blue Angel Oracle deck card and a few quotes. Sometimes they are really nice. I have to update them. A few of them are kind of outdated. First rule of mental health: learn to distinguish who deserves an explanation, who deserves only an answer, and who deserves absolutely nothing. So you take your boundaries with you, right? So you're not everybody starting anymore, that's for sure. So you don't need to cut everyone out and completely play the victim here, or the wounded warrior, so to speak. But you still, you know, you're not allowing everybody in your sacred circle or your home or your life or your bed, for that matter. Never argue with a fool, but have boundaries and communicate them. And, you know, if somebody oversteps them, create some discomfort, right? That's definitely what the King of Wands would do. And trust your intuition if it comes to new people letting into your sacred little circle. You're opening up here to the world again. So trust, first of all, state your will Don't ask for permission. You state what you want, and you stand by it, right? You create some discomfort if somebody is not respecting that, right? If it's your life and concerning your little circle of responsibility, then by all means you have every right to make to state your will, right, and enforce that if necessary. Create some discomfort if somebody oversteps your boundaries. That's totally, we got this with the King of Wands. And then trust your intuition when it comes to new people and allowing them into your life. And you can trust your intuition. It is not distorted by misleading frequencies if you take care of it. If you have guilt, fear, and shame there, and tons of demons, right, and devils are connected to that little, garbage can of guilt, fear, and shame, and hatred and anger, you got all of these disturbing frequencies that are attached to it. But if you clean it up, right, if there's basically nothing down there that causes you to live in guilt, fear, shame, or hatred or anger, sometimes, but you do meditation and breathworks, you clean it and heal it and keep it healed, then you can really trust your intuition. If it's full of trauma and guilt, fear, shame, sometimes there are different frequencies interfering with that. The most common form of despair is not being who you are. Søren Kierkegaard, that is definitely the King of Wands, who is going for a ride, right? The most common form of despair is not being who you are. Søren Kierkegaard. And then we got one more. This is a little bigger, right? This is definitely about trusting your intuition, letting new people in. So people tell you all sorts of BS, right? And sometimes they don't know better and they really believe their own BS. And so there's no bad intention necessarily, but there are people who know what they're doing. And these are the narcissists and antagonistic people and things like that. They know what they're doing and they're telling you BS because they want to manipulate and, harm you in whatever way. They always need to push others down in order to give themselves the false sense of elevation. That's just who they are. You can't change them. But you have to be awake in the sense that you trust your own emotions and you trust your own feelings, and that you are mindful enough to realize when you feel there's something off, right? If your gut tells you, nah, not these people, right? Listen to it. Listen to it. Listen to how you feel around people. This reading is about opening up to the world. You already got your Pentacles line here perfectly organized, Virgo, right? That's what we do. 7 to the 8 of Pentacles to the Queen of Pentacles. We got that figured out. But that playfulness thing, you need let's just put the High Priestess next to the King of Wands. You need both of them, right? Willpower and intuition, right? Water aspect and fire aspect. If you allow other people, new people into your life, maybe even into your bed, right? Then trust your emotions, trust your feelings. Narcissists are very gifted. There's this thing called the honeymoon phase when everything is just, they tell you exactly what you want to hear. And you think, oh, everything is sugar-coated and everything is wonderful. That in itself should be a red flag. And, you need this rationality, this cold rationality, and trusting your feelings. If you feel depleted, if you feel like, oh, that's exciting, but I'm actually super exhausted, right? Then trust that. You should not feel exhausted. You should not, just trust your intuition. That's what I'm trying to tell you. When it comes to new people and letting new people into your life. Meditation, breathwork, dragon magic. Beautiful. That's number 35. Blue Angel Oracle deck. Good fortune. Yes, that's what I see on the table as well. and leave it behind, right? Whatever happened. Que sera, sera sounds awful, but even if it feels still, make sure meditation and breathwork to heal that and to deal with that. And whenever you feel like, oh, I'm tapping back there emotionally, do meditation, do something to snap yourself out of it actively because you want to snap out of it. That's your willpower. That's your king of wands, right? And the high priestess is, you can trust her in intuition and emotional things. Does it feel good? And if it's not feeling good, then change something. Dragon magic, good fortune. This card represents a portal through which dragon consciousness can interact with human consciousness. Dragon consciousness is becoming more and more accessible. The power of the elements air, water, fire, and earth are called upon to restore balance. Dragon brings good fortune and magically transform a situation in your life. That's pretty much what's happening, right? Call upon reason, strength, and self-assurance, and through dragon energy, these powers will be granted to you. This auspicious time brings favorable and tangible results. Open your eyes to the beauty around you. Open your mind to the wonders of life. Open your heart to those who love you, and always be true to yourself. Maya Angelou. Dragon magic. Do we believe in dragon magic? We believe in things that are beyond human conception, and they are still functional nonetheless, right? So they are just functionalities of the universe that we are just not aware of. And we might be aware of some aspects here and there, and we might call it this and that, and we don't know how it works. Maybe we call it dragon magic. Why not freaking call it dragon magic? There are more things between heaven and hell than we can imagine. And, ambiguity, if we don't know if it's true or not true, we might just stand this ambiguity. Standing ambiguity, very important. And why not call it dragon magic? So the universe is totally on your favor and supporting you. And all the elements are here, basically. You heal your emotions through wisdom, through self-care, through meditation and breathwork. It's a daily practice. Pentacles is here. That looks pretty good. Your fire aspect looks pretty good. You be playful but responsible. And what else we got? Swords energy is more connected to... Maybe you have a tendency to overthink what happened to you. Don't make that a habit, right? You got so much beautiful stuff going on here. And you know what? That's all I got. If you want the sun, moon, and rising readings, they are all there, right? If you want a full, complete picture, check out the sun, moon, and rising signs. And there's the summer reading and the yearly reading for 2026. And hopefully see you next time. Now, goodbye, my friend. Ciao.